getting straight to the point. "Take off your clothes!" William Knight. His handsome, fair face flushed red, but as if taking a leap of faith, he began undressing in front of Luna Claire. First came the outer coat, then the pants. "I told you to take off your shirt. Why are you taking off your pants?" Luna Claire was speechless. William Knight was astonished. "Are you sure you mean the shirt?" Previously, all the royal physicians had asked him to take off his pants for examination, hadn't they? If it weren't for his mother's wish to have grandchildren to hold, he wouldn't have allowed anyone to see his private parts. After all, marriage wasn't important to him. "Absolutely sure." Although diagnosing male infertility typically requires observation, William Knight's case didn't call for such trouble. Moreover, his issue wasn't as simple as just impotence. Hearing that he didn't need to remove his pants, William Knight was skeptical, but also heaved a sigh of relief. After taking off his shirt, William Knight still felt a bit uneasy, as Luna Claire was, after all, a proper young lady. Luna Claire, however, paid no mind to whether William Knight was comfortable or not. After instructing him to sit down, she pulled out a set of golden acupuncture needles she had always wanted to try. Indeed, she intended to start acupuncture and simultaneously test what made these needles so special. But the moment her fingertips touched the needle, a strange sensation surged within her. A current seemed to flow through her entire body. Yet, when she tried to grasp it, it vanished, as if it had been nothing but an illusion. When she inserted the needle into William Knight, the sensation returned briefly, only to disappear without a trace again. Once William Knight's body was filled with acupuncture needles, Luna Claire focused her thoughts and observed closely. Her eyes suddenly widened in astonishment. She witnessed toxins in William Knight's body rushing toward his fingertips at a speed visible to the naked eye. Originally, her intent with acupuncture was to expel toxins, but the effect was never supposed to be this rapid. It could be said that the golden needles significantly enhanced the efficacy of regular silver ones. However, for some reason, Luna Claire felt the golden needles held secrets beyond this. There had to be something extraordinary about them that she had yet to uncover. This was her intuition, and she trusted her intuition implicitly. Suppressing her inner excitement, Luna Claire retrieved a small knife from somewhere, and made a cut on each of William Knight's 5 fingertips. "Ah, woman, you!" William Knight started to protest, but when he saw the blood trickling from his fingertips, his words caught in his throat. Because the blood flowing out was black. He knew very well what black blood signified. "What does this mean?" William Knight asked hoarsely. At this moment, the carefree demeanor he had shown earlier was gone. His brows furrowed tightly, his gaze darkened, and his expression turned cold, all signs of the turmoil brewing inside him. "As you can see, you've been poisoned," Luna Claire said matter-of-factly, as she calmly withdrew the needles. William Knight's fists, resting on his knees, gradually clenched tighter, the complexity in his eyes growing deeper. "This poison, is it the reason I'm impotent?" When he asked this question, William Knight's voice was steady, as if he were discussing someone else's problem. "Not at all," Luna Claire directly denied. William Knight, upon hearing this, suddenly jerked his head up, his face filled with disbelief. "Your condition is indeed due to poisoning, but it's a different kind of poison. This poison has been in your body for 5 years now. It's a chronic poison. If it's not cured, you'll only have 5 more years to live at most." In other words, the one who poisoned William Knight not only wanted his life, but also aimed to end his bloodline completely. She had known this beforehand, so deceiving William Knight didn't bring her any pressure. 50,000 silver taels in exchange for a life. How could that be a bad deal? Hearing Luna Claire's words, William Knight naturally thought of the same thing she did. Instantly, rage surged within him, and he spat out a mouthful of blood. Chapter 43. Lily Gets Beaten. Why? Why? William Knight mumbled these 3 words, not knowing who he was asking, but it made people feel as though he had 1,000 words stuck in his throat, unable to come out. His eyes turned red and teary, filled with both pain and hatred, which stirred a sense of compassion in Luna Claire. It seemed he already knew who had poisoned him, likely some dirty affair within his household. At this moment, Luna Claire had no idea that her assumption was too simple. The truth was often far more cruel, far beyond mere household squabbles. Luna Claire said nothing more and didn't intend to comfort him, as comforting words were often meaningless. Moreover, she wasn't someone skilled at offering comfort. Thus, she left the room to William Knight and walked outside. This small estate was rather modest, consisting of a main house and 2 side wings with a courtyard in the middle. Normally, it was looked after by an elderly couple with silver hair. Through their stories, Luna Claire learned that they had lost their child late in life and relied on each other to survive. Later, they were brought here by William Knight, both to be cared for and to help manage the place. It was clear that the relationship between the elderly couple and William Knight was not ordinary. William Knight had brought her here for treatment, so he must trust the 2 deeply. Thus, Luna Claire handed the medicine packets she had purchased over to them. The large packet should be boiled every other day for a medicinal bath. The small packet should be simmered over low heat and taken once a day. At first, the elderly couple thought Luna Claire was someone William Knight fancied. Though her appearance was somewhat plain, if William Knight liked her, they wouldn't say anything. Now, hearing Luna Claire's instructions, they realized they might have misunderstood. Before they could feel embarrassed, their expressions turned to worry. "Miss, what's wrong with our young master? Is something serious happening?" "It's nothing, just a minor illness," Luna Claire replied. This was indeed the truth. For others, it might not be a minor illness, but in her eyes, it was nothing significant. Hearing this, the elderly couple sighed in relief. After confirming that Luna Claire was a physician, they went to the kitchen. Luna Claire sat alone in the courtyard, breathing in the faint scent of medicine in the air, waiting for William Knight to come out. She didn't know how much time had passed when the door creaked open. As William Knight stepped out, the earlier look of distress was completely gone, replaced by the irritating demeanor he had when they first met. "Lady, thank you," William Knight said sincerely. "Luna Claire. Call me Luna." Every time she was addressed as woman, it felt incredibly unpleasant. "Luna, thank you," William Knight obediently corrected himself. Hearing this, Luna Claire extended her hand. "Hand it over." "What?" William Knight was slightly confused. "The consultation fee," Luna Claire said bluntly. "Pay half up front. Over the next few days, you'll take medicine, soak in medicinal baths, and after 7 days, I'll perform acupuncture to eliminate the residual toxins. Then, you can pay the remaining half." William Knight. For some reason, the gratitude in his heart suddenly dissipated by more than half. Though he sighed internally, William Knight still handed over the consultation fee, a total of 25,000 taels. Looking at the stack of banknotes in her hand, Luna Claire's eyes curved into a smile. From being utterly penniless to suddenly becoming wealthy, this feeling wasn't bad at all. Money exchanged for services, Luna Claire naturally didn't linger and left gracefully. At this moment, an uninvited group arrived at West Garden Clare Manor. Hearing the commotion, Lily stepped out of the room. The moment she saw who had arrived, her first instinct was to flee, but after just 2 steps, she was grabbed by 2 waiting maids. One of the maids viciously kicked the back of Lily's leg, causing her to collapse onto the ground. Willow Claire, surrounded by several handmaidens, approached Lily step by step, her gaze filled with malice. Today, Willow Claire was very different from her usual innocent, delicate demeanor. She typically wore modest, gentle clothing that made her appear fragile and pure. However, today, she was dressed lavishly, with bold makeup that highlighted her sharp features and mature allure. Yet, perhaps because of the events earlier that morning, her entire aura exuded a sense of darkness. Lily looked at Willow Claire in terror, her body trembling uncontrollably. Smack! A slap landed on Lily's face without warning, causing one side of her face to swell, blood trickling from the corner of her mouth. Don't look at me like that, Willow Claire said, lightly massaging the hand she had just used to slap Lily. The corner of her lips curled into a mix of spite and satisfaction. The moment you betrayed me, you should have anticipated this outcome, shouldn't you? Lily said nothing, hurriedly lowering her head, not daring to meet Willow Claire's venomous gaze. But Willow Claire wasn't about to let Lily have her way. Lift her chin. I want to see where this wretched girl got the audacity to betray me. Lily's chin was forcefully lifted, compelling her to meet Willow Claire's cruel eyes. Third, miss, this servant did not betray you. Lily struggled to speak. This servant's deed of sale is in the hands of the first Mississippi. The first miss is this servant's true master, so this servant did not betray you. As she spoke, a determined glint shone in Lily's eyes. Over the past few days, she had come to terms with everything. Hearing this, Willow Claire's face grew even darker and more terrifying. Thinking about the humiliation she endured last night, her father's disdainful gaze, and the mocking and scornful looks from the Manor's servants, Willow Claire's eyes filled with hatred, desperate for release. And Lily was clearly the perfect target. If it hadn't been for her, how could she have fallen into Luna Claire's trap? That suffering should have belonged to Luna Claire, not her. The more she thought about it, the more crazed Willow Claire's gaze became, staring at Lily with a bloodthirsty ruthlessness. Beat her! Beat her hard! Willow Claire screamed almost hysterically. Beat her to death for me! Seeing Willow Claire like this, the maids and servants she brought with her trembled, not daring to disobey. Slap after slap, accompanied by relentless punches and kicks, Lily quickly collapsed to the ground, her face and nose covered in blood, looking utterly pitiful. Yet, witnessing the scene before her, Willow Claire laughed heartily, maniacally. It wasn't until Lily lay motionless that the maids and servants dared to glance at Willow Claire. None dared to meet her eyes directly as they stuttered. Miss, she isn't moving anymore. At this moment, Lily lay sprawled in the dusty ground like a broken doll, her bloodied face unrecognizable, her body covered in footprints, motionless. Willow Claire was very satisfied, savoring the sight for a while before turning to leave. The servants exchanged uneasy glances before quickly following her, none caring whether Lily lived or died. Chapter 44. Seeking justice. Luna Claire returned to Clare Manor as dusk approached. The eerie silence of the manor gave her a foreboding feeling. When she arrived at the west garden and saw Lily lying unconscious on the ground, her pupils contracted, her gaze turning icy. After stepping closer to check, she found Lily still faintly breathing, and her expression softened slightly. Without hesitation, she immediately carried Lily inside and began treating her injuries. Acupuncture, applying medicine, administering herbal remedies. The time passed like this, and an hour later, night had fallen. Another half-hour passed before Lily finally regained consciousness. The moment she woke, Lily was still in a daze, unable to fully process what had happened. When Lily saw Luna Claire standing by the bed, half of her face hidden in the shadows, she realized she was still alive, and more than that, lying on the lady's bed. Startled, Lily tried to sit up, but Luna Claire snapped, "If you don't want to die, stay where you are." Though her voice was cold, it brought tears to Lily's eyes. In that moment, she felt genuine care that dispelled the chill and despair of believing she was doomed. "Who did this to you?" Luna Claire asked, her tone icy as she gazed at Lily. Though she already had an answer in mind, she wanted to hear it from Lily's own lips. Lily hesitated under Luna Claire's gaze. "Speak." Luna Claire frowned, her voice tinged with impatience. It was the third miss," Lily finally admitted, unable to hide the truth under Luna Claire's piercing stare. Luna Claire looked at Lily with an expressionless face, making it impossible to tell what she was thinking. After a moment, she produced a small vial of medicine and handed it to Lily. "This is for your injuries. Apply it every day." Without another word, Luna Claire turned and left the room. Watching her retreating figure, Lily felt a pang of unease. She wanted to follow, but couldn't even sit up. Looking down at the vial in her hand, Lily suddenly burst into tears. At this moment, she had no regrets about her choice. Initially, she had chosen the first miss because of a servitude contract, but after facing life and death, she now clearly saw the difference between the first and third Mississippi. To the third miss, she was nothing more than a servant, a disposable tool whose death wouldn't matter. The third miss had never once spared a glance for the servants she had beaten to death. But the first miss was different. With the first miss, Lily felt like a life that mattered, someone whose survival was cared for. Thinking of all she had done to the first miss, Lily felt both shame and regret. In her heart, she silently vowed never to betray the first miss again. Luna Claire was unaware of Lily's thoughts. At that moment, she was heading toward the lovebird garden. In truth, the things Lily had done to the original owner of her body made it hard for Luna Claire to fully trust her. But for now, Lily was her person. If someone dared to bully her people, how could she not seek justice? When the servants of Lovebird Garden saw Luna Claire approaching with an icy expression, a flicker of panic crossed their faces. But remembering that Luna Claire was merely a disgraced young lady in the household, their panic quickly faded, replaced by disdain. "First miss, at this hour, our young lady has already retired for the night. If you have any matters, please return tomorrow." Two elderly maids raised their hands to block Luna Claire, their expressions filled with disdain. Luna Claire merely cast a cold glance at them, and the two immediately felt a chill run down their spines, their faces stiffening. "Move aside," Luna Claire commanded softly, her eyes narrowing slightly. Those who understood her knew this was a sign she was about to act. The wise would step aside immediately. However, it was clear that these two maids, though obedient as quails in front of Willow Claire, were accustomed to behaving arrogantly toward Luna Claire under Willow Claire's influence. Thus, despite feeling somewhat intimidated by Luna Claire's presence, they had no intention of yielding. Luna Claire thought to herself that some people simply weren't worth wasting words on. With that, she extended her leg and kicked one of the maids, sending her sprawling to the ground. Then, she slowly turned her gaze to the other maid. The remaining maid swallowed hard and, realizing the situation, stepped aside. Yet, she still shouted loudly, "Someone come quickly! The first miss is attacking people!" The shout drew the attention of the other servants in Willow Claire's courtyard, who all rushed out. Though she was a concubine-born daughter, Willow Claire was highly favored. Her courtyard housed 2 elderly maids for cleaning, 2 junior maids, and 2 senior maids, a lineup even better than Luna Claire's, the legitimate daughter. The 4 maids and 2 elderly maids all glared fiercely at Luna Claire. "The first miss is causing trouble in Lovebird Garden in the middle of the night. Aren't you afraid of being reprimanded by the master?" Joy, Willow Claire's senior maid, said with a hostile expression as she looked at Luna Claire. Luna Claire simply cast a cold glance at Joy before striding forward toward Willow Claire's room. Seeing this, Joy grew furious. "First miss, if you take another step, Don't blame us servants for being disrespectful. From the moment the first miss arrived, Willow Clare had already heard the commotion. Currently, Willow Clare hated the first miss to her very core and had instructed her maids to properly entertain her if she visited tonight. Considering the first miss's position in the household and her reputation outside, as long as they didn't cripple or kill her, the master likely wouldn't punish them. However, Luna Clare seemed not to hear Joy's words and continued walking resolutely. Seeing this, a glint of malice flashed in Joy's eyes as she raised her hand to slap Luna Clare across the face. Slap! For a moment, everyone froze in place, stunned. No one had expected Joy to strike first, but in the end, it was Joy herself who was slapped instead. Even Joy couldn't believe her eyes. Everyone, attack her together! Joy clutched her aching face, her expression filled with resentment. Luna Clare smirked slightly, her gaze carrying a hint of lethal intent. If you're looking for a fight, then you've come to the right person. She hadn't come to Lovebird Garden just to admire the scenery. These individuals were the ones who attacked Lily, and she had no intention of letting it slide. Half a cup of tea later, 6 people lay sprawled on the ground, groaning in pain. At that moment, the door creaked open from the inside, and Willow Clare appeared before Luna Clare with a fierce expression. Luna Clare, this is not a place where you can act recklessly. Willow Clare's eyes were filled with hatred as she glared at Luna Clare, as if wishing to tear her into 100 pieces. The 6 maids in her courtyard couldn't even manage to injure Luna Clare in the slightest, which only fueled Willow Clare's fury. Luna Clare raised her head, looking directly into Willow Clare's eyes. Do you think the West Garden is a place where you can act recklessly? As she spoke, she steadily advanced toward Willow Clare, her imposing aura forcing Willow Clare to retreat. The initial look of hatred on Willow Clare's face was quickly replaced with fear. How could she forget? Luna Clare was no longer the foolish girl who could be easily bullied. Just last night, she had taught Willow Clare a painful lesson. What do you want to do? Willow Clare swallowed nervously, her eyes filled with wariness. What do you think? Luna Clare replied with a question instead of an answer. Would you really hit me just because I'm a maid? Don't forget, all of this started because of you. You wronged me first, and I was merely venting my anger on your maid. Luna Clare said nothing and walked toward the door. You hit my maid, so that makes us even. If you dare lay a hand on me in front of so many people, Father will never let you off. Willow Clare stumbled backward, so terrified that she fell to the ground, looking utterly disheveled. Chapter 45. The Prime Minister's Secret. Just as Willow Clare thought Luna Clare was about to hit her, Luna Clare didn't even spare her another glance. Instead, she walked past her and casually wrecked Willow Clare's room in the process. Afterward, Luna Clare calmly left the Lovebird Garden amidst Willow Clare's hysterical screams, and this time, no one dared to stop her. The Lovebird Garden wasn't secluded, and Luna Clare made no effort to conceal her actions. As a result, the news quickly reached Prime Minister Arthur Clare and Eleanor Clare. When Eleanor Clare heard about Luna Clare's rampage, she secretly felt delighted. Ignoring her own injuries, she immediately ordered her maid to summon Arthur Clare to her room. Arthur Clare entered and saw Eleanor Clare lying on the bed, looking somewhat pitiful. A flicker of displeasure crossed his face, though he quickly masked it. However, his expression remained far from pleasant. Clearly, he was still brooding over yesterday's events. Eleanor Clare looked at Arthur Clare's cold expression, feeling deeply aggrieved. But remembering the secret she had kept from him, she softened her tone and explained gently. My lord, I know you blame me for hiding the matter concerning Vivian Clare, but when it happened so suddenly, I was utterly terrified. I secretly sought out renowned doctors, but none could make any progress. A daughter's appearance is of utmost importance. How could I not have concealed this? At this point, tears welled up in Eleanor Clare's eyes. My lord, you watched Vivian Clare grow up. She has always been exceptional in both talent and beauty. But now, how can she possibly go on living like this? As she spoke, Eleanor Clare began to sob softly. One must admit, Eleanor Clare had her ways. Even while crying, she managed to maintain an elegant demeanor, evoking sympathy rather than disdain. Seeing her in such a state, Arthur Clare's expression softened. All right, I'll find a way to heal Vivian Clare's face. Hearing this, Eleanor Clare was overjoyed inwardly, though she maintained a sorrowful appearance. Yesterday, all the imperial physicians came to examine her, but after the banquet last night, the emperor specifically sent someone from the Imperial Medical Institute to check Eleanor Clare's wound and conveniently take Vivian Clare's pulse, but they couldn't find the cause. Thinking about this, Eleanor Clare's heart was once again clouded with gloom. Seeing her like this, Arthur Clare reassured her. I heard that Master Luo, the divine physician, has recently come out of seclusion. I've already sent someone to find him. Master Luo's medical skills were incredibly advanced. As long as he intervened, there was no illness he couldn't cure. His fame resonated throughout the Great Azure. However, for some unknown reason, Master Luo had secluded himself in the deep forest 10 years ago, and no one had seen him since. His sudden reappearance this time was bound to cause a stir in the Great Azure. Hearing that Master Luo could be invited, Eleanor Clare was overjoyed but couldn't help asking again. Are you sure, my lord? Arthur Clare nodded. Only then did Eleanor Clare feel completely at ease. Suddenly recalling the reason she had called Arthur Clare over, Eleanor Clare's joyful expression faded, replaced by a worried look. My lord, I heard that Luna went to Willow's courtyard and struck someone. Is this true? Hearing this, Arthur Clare's face darkened. Though he said nothing, Eleanor Clare found her answer in his expression. Seeing this, Eleanor Clare immediately blamed herself. It's all my fault, allowing Willow to cause such trouble, and now Luna as well. She didn't finish her sentence, only letting out a sigh, her face growing more sorrowful. My lord, I don't believe in fate, but ever since Luna returned to the manor, there hasn't been a moment of peace. Eleanor Clare seemed to let this slip unintentionally, but midway through, she appeared to realize her mistake and quickly fell silent, her face showing a hint of panic. My lord, I didn't mean anything by it. No matter what happens to me, it's fine. I'm just worried about you. At this, Eleanor Clare lowered her head, looking as though she had done something wrong. At this moment, Eleanor Clare was solely focused on acting, completely oblivious to the deep, contemplative gaze of Arthur Clare as he listened to her speak. A fleeting glimmer of hatred and intense ruthlessness, mixed with an indescribable emotion, flashed through his eyes. However, it all happened in an instant. Arthur Clare quickly returned to his usual composed demeanor, his gaze toward Eleanor Clare becoming much calmer. You are the matron of this household. These matters are all within the inner courtyard. Handle them as you see fit. Upon hearing this, Eleanor Clare's eyes immediately lit up with joy. Could it be that the master was implying she had full authority over the matter, and he wouldn't interfere any more? Yet, a trace of hesitation lingered in Eleanor Clare's heart. She raised her head to look at Arthur Clare, intending to clarify, but before she could speak, she heard him sigh. This left Eleanor Clare puzzled once again. Why does the master sigh? She asked. Arthur Clare's expression turned somber, as he finally responded. I recently heard some news. I'm not sure if it's true or not. Eleanor Clare grew even more curious. What kind of news could trouble the master so deeply? Arthur Clare paused for a moment before replying. I heard that His Majesty intends to arrange a marriage, to have Luna wed Duke Darius. What? Eleanor Clare could no longer remain still. She tried to sit up, but accidentally aggravated her injury, the pain causing her to grit her teeth. Yet compared to the news she had just heard, this pain was nothing. When His Majesty first ascended the throne, his foundation was not yet stable. Now that he had matured, though outwardly appearing close to Duke Darius, what ruler would tolerate someone else's power overshadowing their own? So, it wasn't hard to deduce His Majesty's intent in marrying off Luna Claire, an ugly girl with a tarnished reputation, to Duke Darius was clearly to humiliate him. But how could this be allowed? Duke Darius was the most powerful man in Phoenixwood Kingdom, the very man Vivian Clare, her cherished daughter, adored and should rightfully marry. That wretched Luna Claire, what right did she have to stand in Vivian Clare's way? What qualifications did she have to become Duke Darius's wife? With these thoughts, Eleanor Clare's eyes filled with murderous intent. Luna Claire could not be allowed to live. She had to act quickly to eliminate her. All the changes in Eleanor Clare's expression were quietly observed by Arthur Clare, whose face briefly revealed a trace of satisfaction.
"All right, I heard about this from another source. It hasn't been verified yet, and it's a matter of the court. Don't worry, just rest and recover."
After speaking, Arthur Clare stood up and left the room. Eleanor Clare, feeling conflicted, didn't stop him from leaving. After exiting Eleanor Clare's room, Arthur Clare headed straight to the study. He pulled an unassuming book from the shelf, and the bookshelf shifted, revealing a hidden chamber. Arthur Clare stepped into the secret room, and the bookshelf returned to its original position. However, deep within the chamber, there were no treasures to be found, only a portrait of a woman. The woman in the painting was a peerless beauty, almost ethereal, but upon closer inspection, her features bore some resemblance to Luna Clare. Arthur Clare gazed at the woman in the portrait, his eyes filled with infatuation. But soon, that infatuation turned into hatred.
I personally pushed your daughter into danger. Do you resent me for it? She has escaped death several times. Was it you secretly helping her? Then this time, will you appear again?
A crazed smile crept onto Arthur Clare's lips, his eyes brimming with madness. Chapter 46. Miss, this is night manor. For 2 consecutive days, Luna Clare stayed in her room, concocting poison for self-defense while also treating Lily. Lily, who was supposed to be bedridden for 10 days to half a month, was able to walk normally by the 2nd day, and the wounds on her face healed rapidly. It was only then that Lily realized the young lady she had been serving for months possessed extraordinary medical skills. Yet, Lily couldn't understand why the young lady, despite her expertise, allowed her own face to remain scarred. Why had she made it so easy for Lily to poison her before? Unable to make sense of it, Lily concluded that the young lady must be concealing her true abilities, leaving her both fearful and grateful. Fearful because of how poorly she had treated the young lady in the past, and grateful that she had now come to her senses. When Lily learned that Luna Clare had punished all the servants in Lovebird Garden, and even smashed up the courtyard for her sake, she felt both touched and terrified. Touched by how much the young lady had done for her, yet terrified that Luna Clare might face punishment for her actions. However, 2 days passed, and neither Clare Manor nor West Garden stirred. No one came to cause trouble. Had it not been for the wary glances she received from the kitchen staff, Lily might have thought it was all just a dream. At this moment, after finishing a bottle of poison, Luna Clare began tidying up, deciding not to continue. Like Lily, Luna Clare found the eerie calm of the past 2 days incredibly unexpected, leaving her with an unsettling feeling that something was off. More accurately, ever since she transmigrated to this world, everything she experienced carried an air of strangeness. The Emperor's decree, the sudden appearance of assassins, the unnaturally calm demeanor of the Prime Minister's residence, every event seemed to harbor a sense of mystery. In particular, the events of the past 2 days left her utterly perplexed. Logically, after Willow Clare's disgrace, even without concrete evidence, her accusations alone should have prompted Arthur Clare to confront her. Yet, Arthur Clare hadn't come to question her at all. Even after she stormed into Lovebird Garden and caused a commotion, fully prepared to face punishment, there was still no response. This silence did not bring her any relief. On the contrary, it filled her heart with unease, as if a massive net was about to descend and engulf her, leaving her completely unaware of what might happen next, a feeling of losing control. Staring at the 3 vials of poison placed before her, Luna Clare's expression was profoundly serious. The ingredients for these poisons were incredibly expensive, and their natural potency was extremely strong. However, if faced with a true master or a group of adversaries, these poisons would hardly be enough to protect her. Surviving in this world, where the strong prey on the weak, was truly challenging for her. Unless she became stronger herself. As this thought crossed her mind, the cold yet breathtakingly beautiful face of Darius Knight began to form in her mind. He was the true powerhouse. Even though he had never revealed his true strength, just the overwhelming aura he exuded, as if he ruled the heavens, was enough to make it clear. Although she was reluctant to admit it, she was certain that if he wished, no matter how skilled she was in medicine and poison, she would still struggle to escape his grasp. This realization gave Luna Clare an idea. Tucking the 3 vials of poison away, Luna Clare stepped out of her room. Just as she was leaving, Lily arrived, carrying a meal tray. Seeing Luna Clare heading out, Lily couldn't help but be surprised.
It's mealtime, Mississippi. Where are you going? I'm stepping out for a bit.
You go ahead and eat. With that, Luna Clare didn't look back and left the West Garden. Not long after, Luna Clare appeared in front of the gates of Night Manor. Gazing at the imposing crimson gates, her eyes grew even more resolute. But as soon as she approached, the guards stationed at the gate stopped her. Perhaps this was the first time anyone had dared to approach Night Manor so boldly, and the guards couldn't help but size Luna Clare up from head to toe. But when his gaze fell on her face, heavily coated with thick makeup, he immediately turned his head away. Truly, too ugly. The guard's expression was so obvious that Luna Clare couldn't help but feel her face darken.
I'm here to see your prince,
Luna Clare said directly, not wanting to waste time. Upon hearing this, the guard widened his eyes at her.
You're here to see our prince? Are you sure, miss?
3 years ago, countless young ladies came seeking the prince. But after what happened 3 years back, the entrance to Night Manor became as deserted as an abandoned temple. Yet, this was the first time he'd seen a woman with such an appearance dare to come looking for the prince.
I'm absolutely sure.
Luna Clare nodded firmly. Hearing this, the guard looked at Luna Clare with a face full of pity.
Miss, does your house not have a mirror?
Otherwise, how could she dare to come with that face to meet his divine prince? Luna Clare. Can someone tell her why the cold and stoic guard at Night Manor was so talkative? Saying outright that she was ugly, was that really okay?
I have important business with your prince.
Luna Clare suppressed her anger and said,
Miss, this is Night Manor.
The guard reminded her kindly.
You talk too much. If I didn't know this was Night Manor, why would I be here? Are you going to report my presence or not?
Finally, Luna Clare couldn't hold back and erupted in frustration. The guard was momentarily stunned by Luna Clare's outburst, but he quickly recovered, though his initial curiosity was gone. This time, his expression was much calmer.
Miss, our prince does not receive guests. Please return.
Luna Clare. Damn it, she really wanted to curse. However, she had mentally prepared herself beforehand, so she wasn't too surprised by the outcome. After all, Darius Knight wasn't an ordinary person. It would have been strange if she could meet him so easily. Still, before leaving, Luna Clare shot a fierce glare at the guard at the gate. The guard. He only spoke the truth. Why did it feel like he'd offended her somehow? Sigh, for the past 3 years, there hadn't been a single lady at the gates of the prince's manor. He truly couldn't understand the temperaments of women these days. As Luna Claire stepped down the stairs of Night Manor, the large doors suddenly opened from the inside. The gate guard, seeing the person who emerged, immediately bowed. It was Victor Moore. However, Victor Moore paid no attention to the guard. Instead, his eyes followed Luna Claire's retreating figure, the same astonishment flashing in his gaze as the guard had shown earlier. For the past 3 years, no woman had ever appeared at the gates of Night Manor. Today was truly peculiar. However, why did this figure seem somewhat familiar?
Miss Claire?
Victor Moore exclaimed in delight. The person in the prince's heart had come to find him. As Luna Claire turned her head, she saw a guard dressed in black armor approaching her with joy. Luna Claire. What was going on?
Miss Claire, you've come at the perfect time. Our master is currently having lunch.
Luna Claire. What did Darius Knight's lunch have to do with her? Although puzzled, she didn't want to miss this rare opportunity to enter Night Manor. Thus, under Victor Moore's enthusiastic guidance and the bewildered expressions of the gate guards, Luna Claire became the first woman to step into Night Manor in 3 years. Chapter 47. A Glimmer of Unusual Perception Following Victor. More into Night Manor, Luna Claire couldn't help but observe her surroundings. The manor was vast but eerily quiet, exuding an oppressive aura reminiscent of Darius Knight himself. Victor Moore led Luna Claire directly to the main hall of the manor. However, upon reaching the entrance, he stopped.
The master is inside. Miss Claire, you may enter on your own,
Victor Moore said, somewhat sheepishly, not daring to proceed further. Luna Claire glanced at Victor Moore, as if trying to see through him. When Victor Moore grew so tense that his nerves felt taut, Luna Claire finally nodded and stepped inside. Watching Luna Claire's retreating figure, Victor Moore let out a silent sigh of relief. Just now, the way Miss Claire looked at him inexplicably made him feel as if he were facing the master himself. Luna Claire entered the main hall and immediately saw Darius Knight seated at a long table, frowning at the lavish spread of food before him. When Darius Knight noticed Luna Claire suddenly walking in, his brows furrowed slightly, and his gaze showed a hint of surprise.
Your subordinate let me in,
Luna Claire explained proactively, seemingly understanding Darius Knight's confusion. Upon hearing this, Darius Knight's expression remained unchanged. His cold, piercing purple eyes fixed on Luna Claire, while his free hand lightly tapped the table. Luna Claire frowned. Was he inviting her to eat with him? Seeing the sumptuous meal, and recalling that she hadn't had lunch yet, Luna Claire decided not to stand on ceremony. She sat down across from Darius Knight, picked up a nearby pair of communal chopsticks, and helped herself to a piece of fish. Darius Knight's face darkened at the sight.
Woman, aren't you being a bit too presumptuous?
Luna Claire swallowed the bite of fish, her expression puzzled.
Didn't you tap the table to invite me to join you?
Had she misunderstood? Darius Knight's face twitched.
I never invited you.
He practically ground out the words through clenched teeth, and his gaze grew colder. Luna Claire. A misunderstanding? How awkward. What should she do now? Just as the embarrassment reached its peak, Luna Claire's stomach decided to betray her, letting out a loud growl. Her face burned with humiliation, and she felt like crying without tears. There was no other way. Rushing out without having lunch earlier, the piece of fish just now had stirred her hunger, and with the fragrant aroma of the food in front of her, she was truly starving.
Anyway, with so many dishes, you can't finish them all, and eating alone must be boring. How about letting me join you?
Luna Claire looked at Darius Knight with an expression of utmost sincerity. Darius Knight furrowed his brows, initially intending to refuse, But upon seeing Luna Claire's sparkling eyes, he ultimately just snorted without saying a word and began picking up food for himself. Seeing this, Luna Claire took it as his agreement. Fearing he might change his mind, she quickly helped herself to the food. Watching Luna Claire eat with such enthusiasm, Darius Knight recalled the reports from his subordinates, and couldn't help but frown. It seemed that the people of Clare Manor had indeed mistreated her. Yet, he was very curious about how, under such circumstances, she had developed such a bold personality. If not for her timely restraint and accidentally saving his life that day, she would likely already be a corpse by now. Thinking of this, Darius Knight withdrew his thoughts and started eating. Even he didn't realize that this meal, which was usually bland, was eaten in greater quantity than usual. After the meal, a servant entered to clean up. The servant, upon entering, was visibly surprised to see a woman in the royal residence. However, fearing Darius Knight's authority, he dared not lift his head to look at Luna Claire, and thus wasn't stunned by her beauty.
"Speak! What business do you have with me?"
Darius Knight, half lying on the bed, asked. But his cold gaze seemed to say,
"If you have no business, let's see if I spare you."
However, Darius Knight's posture was so alluring that Luna Claire momentarily froze. Moreover, as she was about to fall into a daze, her eyes unconsciously changed color once more. Luna Claire quickly averted her gaze, not daring to look further, fearing that if she continued, her purpose for coming today would be unfulfilled. But her obvious act of looking away made Darius Knight's eyes flash with a hint of doubt. Why did he feel that every time this woman looked at him, it was so strange? It was as if he was standing before her, undressing. At this thought, Darius Knight's expression darkened, and the surrounding atmosphere grew heavy. Luna Claire suddenly sensed the change in the air. Feeling slightly uneasy, she still managed to maintain her composure, meeting Darius Knight's gaze head-on.
"Your Highness, I've come today to propose a deal. What could you possibly offer that's worth my consideration?"
Darius Knight clearly dismissed Luna Claire's words without a second thought. Luna Claire, unfazed, simply replied,
"The poison in your body, currently, only I can suppress it."
Hearing her mention the poison, Darius Knight's eyes grew noticeably colder.
"If your Highness agrees to protect me in certain situations and teach me martial arts, I will help you neutralize the poison."
To face danger, one must grow stronger. Thus, she wanted to learn martial arts. However, in this world ruled by imperial power, survival required influence. And Darius Knight was undoubtedly the best support she could find.
"You can neutralize the poison in me?"
Though he had suspected it, he still wasn't entirely convinced. Luna Claire didn't respond immediately. She pondered for a moment before lifting her head to meet his gaze.
"I can't completely neutralize it for now."
Feeling the chill in the air intensify, Luna Claire quickly continued.
"If I'm not mistaken, the gully in your Highness's body originates from the host mother, and the snow flame poison has been with you since birth. These two poisons, though excruciating when they act up, counterbalance each other, allowing your Highness to survive all these years."
At this point, Luna Claire shifted her tone.
"However, a third poison has recently appeared in your body, disrupting this balance. To maintain equilibrium, your Highness has been forced to absorb even more toxins. Am I wrong? You know about the gully?"
Of all Luna Claire's words, Darius Knight seemed unperturbed by most, but his attention sharply focused on the term
gully.
At its mention, his expression stiffened, and a storm seemed to brew in his icy violet eyes, as if he was ready to obliterate everything. This sudden change in Darius Knight startled Luna Claire. Yet even she found his question puzzling. In her modern world, there was no such thing as a cursed parasite like the goo poison. She had never studied anything of the sort. However, the day she woke up and saw the insect on Darius Knight, she wasn't surprised at all. In fact, she was entirely certain it was the ghoulie, as if some inexplicable knowledge had suddenly surfaced in her mind, knowledge neither she nor the original owner of her body had ever possessed. Chapter 48. The more you know, the faster you die.
Yes.
Luna Claire nodded. Although she didn't know where the fragment of memory just now came from, she indeed knew about ghoulie. However, strangely enough, she knew how to suppress ghoulie, and even how to resolve it, but she didn't understand its actual purpose. It was as if a part of the memory fragment that had appeared just now had been erased, leaving her with an indescribable sense of oddity. Still lost in confusion, Luna Claire didn't notice the sudden flash of killing intent in Darius Knight's eyes when she uttered the word, "No!" By the time she realized, it was too late. Darius Knight had already gripped her neck tightly, his gaze filled with murderous intent and deep hatred.
"Speak! Who exactly sent you here?"
Darius Knight tightened his grip, his face icy cold. Recalling the connection between the Prime Minister and that person, Darius Knight's gaze toward Luna Claire grew even darker. She knew about ghoulie. Could it be that she was also connected to that person? If that were true, he couldn't let her stay alive. Luna Claire couldn't understand why Darius Knight suddenly turned hostile, but at this moment, she could clearly feel death looming over her, as well as her own helplessness. Under this man's hands, she had no strength to resist. No matter how hard she tried, she couldn't shake off the hand tightening around her throat. Pain pierced through her chest, and tears welled up in her eyes. Finally, as the makeup on her face failed to conceal her purpling skin, her hands dropped weakly, and it seemed as though her life was fading away. Seeing the light in Luna Claire's eyes dimming, as if about to extinguish, Darius Knight's heart clenched, and he unconsciously loosened his grip slightly. This was her chance. Luna Claire's eyes, which had seemed lifeless moments ago, suddenly sparkled. Taking advantage of Darius Knight's momentary distraction, she thrust a silver needle she had prepared straight at him. Caught off guard, Darius Knight was struck.
"You?"
He could only utter a single word before his pupils contracted, and he collapsed to the ground before he could react. Darius Knight lay on the ground, his body stiff and his face contorted in pain. In an instant, his purple eyes seemed to be stained with blood, turning bright red, while the veins on his forehead bulged as if they were about to burst. Yet, despite this, Darius Knight gritted his teeth, refusing to let out a single cry as he stared directly at Luna Claire, silently enduring the excruciating pain. Seeing Darius Knight suffering so intensely, Luna Claire felt a twinge of pity. She knew very well how much agony he was enduring. It wasn't because the poison she had just administered was too potent, but rather because Darius Knight's body had accumulated an overwhelming amount of toxins. Once poisoned, the delicate balance of
using poison to counter poison
within him was disrupted, causing other toxins to gradually erupt. And the type of poison that required the
poison countering poison
method to suppress, how could it be ordinary? The pain it inflicted was unimaginable. One could say, if she didn't intervene and continue to wait, the toxins in Darius Knight's body would only flare up more violently, leaving him with no other outcome but death. Especially when the snow flame poison activated, at that moment, tormented by both ice and fire, even a man of steel could succumb to the agony and perish. Watching Darius Knight endure the excruciating pain, while gritting his teeth, Luna Claire couldn't help but think of how he had suffered from the torment of snow flame and ghoulie since childhood. Her initial reluctance completely transformed into a moment of weakness.
"If you agree to listen to me calmly and not attack me, I will help suppress the poison in your body,"
Luna Claire said, looking directly into Darius Knight's eyes with a serious expression. She didn't want to be his enemy. At this moment, she only sought a chance to negotiate. Darius Knight stared deeply at Luna Claire and nodded. Seeing this, Luna Claire finally let out a sigh of relief. Without hesitation, she stepped forward, gave Darius Knight a pill, and swiftly took out a needle from her chest to help suppress the raging toxins inside him. After about the time it takes to drink a cup of tea, Darius Knight's breathing gradually stabilized, and Luna Claire slumped to the ground, exhausted.
You don't need to doubt me. If I were sent by someone else, I wouldn't care about your life or death, especially not that night.
Meeting Darius Knight's gaze, Luna Claire spoke to clarify her intentions. If she wanted to rely on this man in front of her to achieve her goal of becoming stronger, the first thing she needed to do was eliminate his doubts about her. She didn't want today's events to repeat themselves. Darius Knight glanced at Luna Claire without saying a word, stood up from the ground, and returned to his seat. In an instant, he regained his lofty demeanor. If not for the disheveled state of his clothing, there would be no trace of the earlier struggle, as if everything that had just happened was merely an illusion in Luna Claire's mind. Seeing Darius Knight ignoring her and sitting back in his place, Luna Claire assumed he still didn't trust her. Though her face betrayed no emotion, she couldn't help but feel a little anxious inside. Clenching her teeth, Luna Claire continued,
Whether you believe me or not, I truly don't know why I know about Gully. I only know how to suppress it, how to cure it, but I have no idea what Gully's purpose is.
At this moment, Luna Claire was very clear. Darius Knight had never truly attacked her before, but today he had shown killing intent. The main reason was Gully. If her guess was correct, there must be some hidden secret behind Gully. That's why she chose to be honest. Even though she didn't fully believe her own words, she still wanted to try. Darius Knight looked into Luna Claire's sincere eyes, remaining silent. Luna Claire saw that Darius Knight remained silent for a long time, thinking he still didn't believe her. She couldn't help but feel a little disheartened. Fine. She had said what needed to be said, done what needed to be done. If he still didn't believe her, there was nothing more she could do. She didn't believe that without this man as an ally, she wouldn't be able to live well and thrive. With a slightly sulky thought, Luna Claire decided not to linger any longer and said to Darius Knight,
If your Highness doesn't believe me, then just pretend I was never here.
With that, she turned around, ready to leave.
You know so many of my secrets, and you think I'd let you leave so easily?
A deep voice sounded behind her, making Luna Claire stop in her tracks. The corners of her mouth twitched uncontrollably. How could she forget the principle of
knowing too much leads to an early death?
The current Duke Darius had been poisoned with a deadly toxin. If this news got out, the entire nation would likely fall into chaos. And how could Darius Knight allow such a thing to happen? Turning back, she looked at Darius Knight with an innocent expression.
Your Highness, if I say I'll keep the secret, will you believe me?
Chapter 49. Severing Love and Affection?
What do you think?
Darius Knight didn't answer but questioned back, his icy gaze carrying a hint of mischief, the corners of his lips curling into a faint smile. Luna Claire immediately frowned. Clearly, he didn't believe her. Traveling through time wasn't easy. Did he really have to scare her like this?
Severing love and affection.
Luna Claire was internally grumbling, and trying to find a way to salvage the situation when Darius Knight suddenly spoke, catching her off guard. She could only stare at him blankly.
I said, the effect of Gully is to sever love and affection.
Darius Knight repeated, his deep purple eyes unreadable. Even though the woman before him claimed she didn't know what Gully was but somehow knew the cure, which sounded absurd, for some reason, he believed her. However, this belief stirred many doubts in his mind about Luna Claire. How could a young lady raised in the countryside know medicine? Why would she know about Gully? After all, Gully didn't even belong to this world. At first, he had suspected Luna Claire of being associated with that person, which had sparked his initial intent to kill her. But after thinking it through, he dismissed the idea. That person wanted nothing more than his death. Why would they tell someone else about Gully? Moreover, as far as he knew, that person only had a superficial understanding of Gully, and didn't know how to cure it. Otherwise, they wouldn't have spent years probing him.
Impossible!
As soon as he finished speaking, Darius Knight was immediately refuted by Luna Claire. Her delicate brows furrowed slightly.
The effect of Gully is definitely not to sever love and affection. Didn't you say you didn't know its effects?
Darius Knight narrowed his eyes.
Was she lying to him? I truly don't know.
Luna Claire replied nonchalantly, meeting Darius Knight's sharp gaze. She continued,
but my intuition tells me that the effect of Gully isn't to sever love and affection.
If it were truly meant to sever love and affection, then logically speaking, Gully couldn't possibly be both compatible and antagonistic with Snow Flame. Snow Flame, as its name suggests, causes the afflicted to endure the agonizing sensation of being burned and frozen simultaneously. But it has another effect. Within the dual realm of fire and ice, it suppresses a person's innate talents. In other words, if someone were afflicted with Snow Flame from a young age, they wouldn't just suffer the torment of fire and ice, but would also have their body corroded, their meridians damaged, and their ability to practice martial arts destroyed, turning them into a cripple. However, it was clear that Darius Knight, with his extraordinary talent and profound inner strength, was far from being a cripple. This situation likely arose because the person who poisoned him with Snow Flame didn't realize that Darius Knight had carried Gully since birth and didn't know that these two toxins were mutually reactive. For two toxins to be both compatible and antagonistic, they must share some connection, either being similar or completely opposite. Clearly, the concept of severing love and affection didn't fit these characteristics. Luna Claire thought this through and analyzed it for Darius Knight. Hearing her analysis, Darius Knight's handsome brows furrowed deeply. Although he had once suspected something, he had always assumed the dual toxins in his body were merely a result of mutated poison. Now, after hearing Luna Claire's explanation, he found the situation even more perplexing. Could it be that everything he had always believed was wrong? After a moment of contemplation, Darius Knight finally spoke.
How confident are you in neutralizing all the poison?
Luna Claire cautiously raised one finger. Seeing Darius Knight's expression darken, she quickly added another finger. The atmosphere grew increasingly tense. Luna Claire gritted her teeth and decisively added 2 more fingers.
Only 40% confidence. No more than that.
Darius Knight's face turned grim. Did this woman think this was a vegetable market where bargaining was acceptable?
With just 40% confidence, you dare come here to negotiate terms with me?
Darius Knight's displeasure was evident. On the contrary, Luna Claire showed no guilt upon hearing this.
Have you ever heard the saying, a skilled chef cannot make a delicious meal without the right ingredients? If you can gather all the herbs I need, I'll have 100% confidence. Arrogant!
Darius Knight concluded coldly.
If you find all the herbs, you'll see whether I'm arrogant or not.
Luna Claire retorted, equally displeased. She hated nothing more than having her abilities doubted. Seeing Luna Claire roll her eyes, Darius Knight asked,
What herbs? Purple spirit herb, phoenix white fruit, ice blood grass.
Luna Claire listed the 3 medicinal ingredients. Hearing these names, a flicker of astonishment appeared in Darius Knight's eyes, as he looked at Luna Claire with a somewhat complex expression.
Don't doubt it. In my mind, these are the only herbs capable of curing Gully. Although I've never seen them before, I can assure you, they are extremely rare.
These 3 medicinal herbs had appeared in her mind along with information about Gully. Previously, she had never heard of such ingredients.
How far can you go with this?
Darius Knight shifted away from the topic of herbs.
My plan is to first help you eliminate other toxins.
To restore your body to its original balanced state. After that, I will cure the snow flame poison and then suppress Gully.
This was the best treatment plan available at the moment. The process was lengthy and complicated, but given Darius Knight's current condition, it was the only viable option.
Can I trust you?
Darius Knight stared intently at Luna Claire.
Killing me would be as easy as flipping your hand, wouldn't it, Your Highness?
Luna Claire pouted, though she truly disliked admitting this fact. Having always been strong-willed, she hated the idea of being the weaker one.
Fine.
Darius Knight finally nodded.
If you betray my trust, I will take your life any time.
Though his tone was calm, Luna Claire could hear the threat within it. Honestly, if she could fight him, she would love to punch this man in front of her. Such a face that captivated her, yet why did his personality have to be so insufferable? Suppressing her irritation, Luna Claire forced a smile.
So, Your Highness agrees to cooperate?
Yes. Darius Knight nodded.
But I need to see results first.
Hearing this, Luna Claire's face darkened. Was he implying that she had to detoxify part of the poison first before he would teach her martial arts? Was he doubting her medical skills? How stingy! A grown man being so petty. Not only did Luna Claire think this, but she also muttered it aloud. Darius Knight's face immediately turned grim.
I'm stingy, am I?
This woman dared to insult him outright. Her courage was indeed impressive. Luna Claire.
No, what I meant was, Your Highness should prepare paper, ink, and a brush. Some of these herbs are hard to find, so Your Highness will have to search for them personally.
She had spoken so softly, yet he still heard her. Indeed, having internal energy was truly something else. Chapter 50. Into the mountains to gather medicine ink, paper, and brushes were swiftly brought forward. Luna Claire wrote down a list of medicinal herbs, emphasizing that these were essential for the later stages. Only when all were collected could the snow flame poison be cured. In the great Azure continent, snow flame was no ordinary poison. Very few could neutralize it, which was likely why Darius Knight had been poisoned in the first place. The difficulty of curing snow flame also meant the required ingredients were extraordinarily rare and precious. Among them was an ingredient called
merfolk's tear,
said to exist only in legends due to its extreme rarity. However, upon seeing the list, Darius Knight merely glanced at it before immediately summoning his subordinates to search for the items, showing no hesitation or concern. After everyone had left, only Luna Claire and Darius Knight remained in the hall. Luna Claire then requested a sample of his blood for immediate analysis. Although her earlier pulse reading had revealed that he was afflicted with multiple poisons, the specifics, what types of toxins, their current severity, and how they had mutated within his body, could only be determined through his blood. A cup of tea later, Luna Claire looked up at Darius Knight, her eyes sparkling as if she were gazing at a delectable feast. Darius Knight. What kind of look is that?
Your Grace, do you have any extra blood?
Luna Claire asked expectantly, her gaze fixed on him. Lethal poison. Darius Knight's blood was the epitome of toxins, capable of killing silently and invisibly. With even a small amount of his blood, would she still need to labor over concocting other poisons? Darius Knight.
What do you think?
His voice, as if squeezed out through gritted teeth, was icy enough to send chills down her spine, jolting Luna Claire back to reality. Ahem. Momentarily overwhelmed by excitement, she had nearly forgotten that the man before her was the cold and detached Duke Darius.
Within 5 days at most, I will detoxify you,
Luna Claire solemnly promised. In truth, Darius Knight's condition was far from optimistic. Based on her calculations, he had already been poisoned the first time they met, leading to an outbreak that disrupted his internal energy flow. The poison's effect on his core had rendered him immobile. Though she had used a silver hairpin to temporarily mitigate the danger back then, The circumstances at the time had been far from ideal. The relief was only temporary. If she was correct, another major outbreak was imminent. 2 consecutive poison outbreaks would be no trivial matter for Darius Knight. Thus, for both his sake and her own, Luna Claire needed to eliminate the other toxins in his body before the next outbreak. Otherwise, the situation would become even more precarious. With this in mind, Luna Claire wasted no time. After explaining the situation, she quickly departed. As soon as Luna Claire left, Benedict Rock appeared. His usually stoic face now bore a complicated expression. "My lord," Benedict Rock began, but Darius Knight raised a hand to silence him. Benedict Rock's expression grew even more conflicted. He had witnessed everything that had just transpired in the hall. His master could have allowed him to intervene, sparing himself the pain of the poison's effects. Yet, Darius Knight had forbidden him from doing so. It seemed his master truly treated the young lady of the Clare family differently. Could it be, as Victor Moore had suggested, that his master's preferences were indeed unusual? "Does the Lord truly trust her? I've never heard of such things." Benedict Rock finally voiced the doubts in his heart. Benedict Rock was not a talkative person. Otherwise, he wouldn't have earned the nickname of the cold-faced King of Hell. Seeing his expression, Darius Knight gave him a meaningful glance. "There are countless things in this world you've never heard of, but that doesn't mean they don't exist." With that, Darius Knight vanished from the grand hall in an instant. Luna Claire left Night Manor and, seeing there was still time, headed straight to the Wanderer's Pavilion pharmacy to buy antidote ingredients for Darius Knight. Unexpectedly, some of the common herbs were out of stock at Wanderer's Pavilion, and would take some time to restock. With no other choice, Luna Claire went to other pharmacies to inquire, only to find they were also out of stock. Most of these herbs were ordinary, yet it was peculiar that major pharmacies were simultaneously out of them. Though puzzled, Luna Claire knew this wasn't something she needed to concern herself with. Moreover, she couldn't afford to wait for the pharmacies to restock. The timing was too urgent. After some thought, Luna Claire decided to leave the city and gather the herbs herself. Based on her knowledge, a day's journey west of the capital would lead to a mountain range called Mount Despair. Mount Despair was abundant in resources, but few dared to venture there because of the ferocious beasts lurking deep within. Even skilled fighters rarely returned unscathed, making the place exceedingly dangerous. However, Luna Claire showed no hint of fear. To her, wild beasts might be dangerous, but they were far less treacherous than human hearts, and couldn't compare to her determination, honed through mastering light-footed techniques and inner strength. "If you don't enter the tiger's den, how can you catch its cub?" Unbeknownst to Luna Claire, as soon as she left the city, news of her departure had quietly reached the Prime Minister's residence. Eleanor Claire, still bedridden, saw this as a golden opportunity upon hearing of Luna Claire's departure. She immediately instructed her trusted maid, Mary Jones, to deliver a letter she had personally written beyond the residence walls. In the shadows, a storm was brewing, though Luna Claire remained completely unaware. By the time Luna Claire arrived at Mount Despair, it was already the next morning. After purchasing the necessary supplies, Luna Claire ventured into Mount Despair, oblivious to the fact that a figure dressed in purple was silently tailing her. Upon entering Mount Despair, the faint scent of grass and trees in the air lifted Luna Claire's spirits, though she stayed vigilant of her surroundings. The outer areas of Mount Despair did have some herbs, but they were ordinary, of poor quality, and sparse, evidence that others had come here to gather herbs before. The deeper she went, the fewer signs of human activity she noticed. In contrast, the abundance and quality of the herbs improved significantly. Seeing those medicinal herbs, Luna Claire's eyes sparkled as if she had discovered a treasure. Whenever she found one she liked, she immediately picked it. In no time,
The sack she carried was more than half full, containing several herbs she needed. However, she was still missing one, dragon beard grass, the rarest and most precious herb on her list. With no other choice, Luna Claire ventured deeper into the area, searching for damp places. Dragon beard grass thrived on moist cliffs, and before long, she found it. But just as she picked the dragon beard grass and slung the sack over her back, two ferocious tigers suddenly leapt out from the nearby bushes. The two tigers seemed almost intelligent, circling around Luna Claire and blocking her path from both sides. For an ordinary person, even a strong man, encountering such a situation would surely cause their legs to turn to jelly in fear. But Luna Claire remained cold and composed, drawing a short sword she had prepared along with a pouch of powder, assuming a battle-ready stance without a hint of fear. Looking closely, one could even see the corners of her lips curl into a bloodthirsty smile. Roar! As if on cue, the two tigers simultaneously charged at Luna Claire. Chapter 51. Hero, please take me as your disciple. The two tigers lunged at Luna Claire, one from the front and the other from behind. Just as their claws were about to reach her, Luna Claire swiftly sidestepped. Tigers, being large cats, were agile, but even within such a narrow margin, Luna Claire managed to evade them. At that moment, she flung the pouch in her hand toward one of the tigers. As a pained roar echoed, Luna Claire didn't hesitate, raising her short blade to face the other tiger head-on. In the past, during her training, she had fought lions and tigers in the arena. Thus, facing these two beasts, she felt no fear. Instead, her eyes glimmered with a cold, ruthless light. Roar! The tiger Luna Claire confronted let out a growl and pounced. Luna pretended to meet its attack, but suddenly leaned back, letting the tiger leap over her. Now! Luna Claire raised her short blade and thrust it straight into the tiger's throat. With the momentum of its jump, the vicious tiger was gutted, its blood spraying onto Luna Claire's face. The tiger died instantly, not even managing to let out one last roar. Roar! The remaining tiger's growl became even more frenzied. Luna Claire quickly stood up, turning to face the enraged tiger. The corner of her mouth curled into a victorious smirk. Chili powder. No creature could withstand it. She had casually bought some as a precaution, never expecting it would come in handy. However, the tiger she had thrown the chili powder at was now utterly enraged, blindly rampaging around, making it even harder to deal with. Luna Claire focused on a nearby tree, using her hands to swiftly climb up. When the tiger reached the base of the tree, Luna seized the moment, leaping down and landing directly on its back. With a short blade in her hand, she stabbed it straight into the tiger's neck. The tiger, now in pain, became even more frenzied, determined to throw Luna Claire off. It rammed itself into the tree trunk repeatedly. The jolts left Luna Claire dizzy, and she was accidentally slammed hard against the tree, causing her to grimace in pain and taste the tangy sweetness of blood in her mouth. This time, Luna Claire was truly furious. If she couldn't handle a martial artist with internal energy and agility, that was one thing. But to struggle against an animal? If the people at the Bureau of Artifice found out, they'd laugh until their sides hurt. Her eyes turned icy as her free hand gripped the tiger's mane tightly. She threw herself to the ground along with the tiger. The moment she hit the ground, she swung her blade decisively, stabbing it straight into the tiger's heart. Although her movements were swift, the tiger's momentum from ramming into the tree sent Luna Claire flying through the air. This time, Luna Claire didn't immediately stand up, because she knew that after the last blow, the tiger was completely dead, and she was a bit exhausted, needing a moment to rest. From a distance, a figure observed the woman lying on the ground, gasping for breath, his purple eyes growing even deeper. This woman seemed to constantly surprise him. Initially, He hadn't felt comfortable letting her venture into the deep forest alone, so he had followed her. Now, it seemed his worries were unnecessary. Her agile movements and sharp, cold gaze were unlike those of a woman raised in the countryside. Instead, she resembled someone who had endured harsh experiences. What exactly had this woman been through? Luna Claire had no idea she had been watched all along, nor did she rest for too long. This was the deep forest, and she had just killed 2 tigers. The smell of blood would undoubtedly attract other wild beasts. She couldn't linger any longer. Just as she exited Mountain Despair, and hadn't gone far, Luna Claire sensed something was off. A strong killing intent. The moment she realized it, 7 or 8 figures dressed in black emerged from the bushes, surrounding her. All of them wore black clothing, their faces masked, eyes fierce, and killing intent emanating from them. Clearly, they were ordinary assassins. After all, the more advanced an assassin, the better they could conceal their aura, unlike the 2 who had tried to assassinate her that night, whom she hadn't detected in time. However, these 7 or 8 individuals still posed a considerable challenge for her. Attack! As Luna Claire was contemplating a way to escape, one of the black-clad figures shouted, and the group charged at her simultaneously. Damn it! She excelled in close combat, but how was she supposed to fight this many people at once? Though she silently cursed in her heart, before the group could surround her, Luna Claire sprinted toward one of them with the speed of a 100-meter dash. Her speed left her target momentarily stunned. In that brief instant, Luna Claire's silver needle pierced into his body like lightning. To prevent any mishaps, she had coated the needle with a deadly poison. One strike was enough to kill. This scene caught the black-clad group completely off guard. What shocked them even more was that Luna Claire only paused beside her target for a split second before bolting away at full speed. Are you kidding me? If it were just a bunch of henchmen, she could handle them. But going up against assassins? No way she'd stick around. You bitch! One of the black-clad men snapped back to his senses, shouting angrily. After her! At the foot of Mountain Despair, a strange scene unfolded. 6 or 7 men in black were chasing behind, while a girl was sprinting desperately ahead. It seemed, however, that luck was not on Luna Claire's side today. Facing the steep cliff in front of her, Luna Claire's lips twitched. There was no way out. You wretch, are you still going to run? The men in black caught up, roaring angrily, clearly still fuming with rage. Luna Claire turned around to face them. This time, she had no intention of fleeing anymore. Besides, running endlessly wasn't a solution. Fortunately, these men didn't know martial arts. The one who wanted her dead must have underestimated her, and didn't bother sending skilled assassins. Gripping her short blade, Luna Claire narrowed her eyes at the men in black. Both sides moved almost simultaneously. Luna Claire quickly locked onto her target. Just as one of the men swung his blade at her, she seized his wrist, using his strength against him, forcing him to block the attack of another man in black. Swiftly, she twisted her body to dodge the lethal strike from the third man, then used her short blade to slash across the abdomen of the fourth. It was just that, after all, she was outnumbered. Her moves were swift, but she couldn't withstand the seamless coordination of her opponents. Before long, her arm was injured. Even though she quickly used her silver needles to kill 2 of them, she still couldn't fend off the remaining blades. In a critical moment, a gust of wind surged, and a figure clad in purple descended from the sky, striking 2 of her enemies away with a single move. With just another flick of his hand, Luna Claire hadn't even seen him touch the group of men in black before the remaining ones were sent flying, blood spurting from their mouths, as they fell lifelessly on the spot. Damn it! Having internal energy is truly overwhelming. Luna Claire silently admired him, her heart filled with both awe and envy. her desire to learn internal energy growing even stronger.
Hero, please take me as your disciple.
Chapter 52. Is this man teasing her? Luna Claire looked at the man in purple before her, her bright eyes sparkling with anticipation. Darius Knight was indeed formidable, but this masked man was equally powerful. Why not learn from someone as skilled as him? The key was that she wanted to become stronger herself. When Darius Knight heard Luna Claire's words, the corner of his mouth twitched slightly. This woman, does she want to apprentice under everyone she deems powerful? Thinking of this, an inexplicable discomfort rose in Darius Knight's heart. At this moment, he had completely forgotten that the person Luna Claire had wanted to apprentice under earlier was him. After a moment of silence, Darius Knight's gaze fell on the wound on Luna Claire's arm, his pale purple eyes deepening. She truly wasn't strong enough yet. She needed to learn more skills to protect herself. With that thought, Darius Knight said nothing more and directly scooped Luna Claire up in his arms.
Hey! What are you doing?
Luna Claire exclaimed, a strange thought suddenly flashing through her mind.
Are you planning to make me repay you with my body?
Although this man had saved her twice, and she was grateful, there was no way she would repay a man she hadn't even seen clearly with her body. Of course, even if she had seen his face, she still wouldn't repay him with her body. Are you kidding me? Is she really such a shallow person? There are countless ways to repay a life-saving favor. Why must she sacrifice her entire lifetime of happiness for it? She's not a fool.
If I truly wanted you to repay me with your body, what would you do?
Darius Knight's face suddenly leaned in close to Luna Claire, his warm breath intentionally brushing against her neck. His entire demeanor exuded a devilish charm, his attitude growing increasingly ambiguous. Luna Claire, is this man teasing her? Catching the faint amusement in the man's violet eyes, Luna Claire immediately realized what was happening. This man was undoubtedly toying with her. A sly glint flashed across her eyes. Luna Claire instantly relaxed, her body becoming soft and pliant as she leaned closer to Darius Knight. Her shimmering, tear-filled eyes gazed up at him, and her delicate hand gently lifted his chin. In a coquettish voice, she said,
If you could remove your mask and allow me to admire your true face, I would gladly offer myself as repayment.
Luna Claire thought, anyone who hides their face behind a mask must have secrets they cannot reveal. Such a person would never easily take off their mask, which is why she dared to make such a statement. Her soft, sweet voice combined with her slightly disheveled appearance created an indescribable allure. If anyone else were to witness this scene, they would undoubtedly throw Luna Claire to the ground in frustration. However, someone seemed entirely captivated by Luna Claire's mischievous gaze and seductive demeanor, completely disregarding her disheveled state. As soon as Luna Claire finished speaking, the corners of Darius Knight's lips curved into a devilish smile. A deep, husky voice filled with magnetic charm resonated.
Good.
Luna Claire, ? Good? Was he sure? Luna Claire was horrified, unable to keep acting anymore. Her entire body instantly stiffened. All of Luna Claire's reactions were caught by Darius Knight, making his mood brighten considerably. Under her terrified and horrified gaze, Darius Knight removed Luna Claire's mask, then slowly spoke.
However, now is not the time yet. My lady must wait for her husband a little longer.
With that, Darius Knight immediately carried Luna Claire and soared into the air. But Luna Claire was dumbfounded. My lady? Husband? Since when? Where did this shameless masked man come from? Could he just leave already? Darius Knight carried Luna Claire straight toward the capital city. Luna Claire was astonished to discover that his light-footed technique was even faster than a horse. And the feeling of being carried while moving, Luna Claire found it not too bad. Even so, she still wanted to fly on her own. The scenery before her eyes blurred past, and after an unknown amount of time, Luna Claire realized she had been brought to a secluded estate on the outskirts of the capital. When the people of the estate saw their master carrying a woman back, they were all left gaping. Their master? So he wasn't into men after all? As they recovered from their initial shock, they began to notice the face of the woman in their master's arms. Immediately, everyone in the estate was dumbfounded. Their master's taste was truly unique. At that moment, Darius Knight coldly glanced around, causing the group behind him to break out in a cold sweat and quickly scatter like startled birds.
"Hey, can you put me down now?"
Luna Claire had wanted to get down ever since everyone started staring at her, but she hadn't had the chance to speak until now.
"You're too filthy."
Darius Knight glanced at Luna Claire, showing no intention of letting her go. Luna Claire. She knew she was dirty, covered in mud and blood, but what did that have to do with him not putting her down? Moreover, if she was already known to be dirty, shouldn't she be thrown down even faster? Luna Claire was filled with confusion, but she quickly understood why Darius Knight said so. Because Darius Knight directly brought Luna Claire into a room, completely empty except for an enormous bathtub. Before Luna Claire could react, Darius Knight raised his hand and tossed her into the tub.
"Hey, my name is Darius."
Luna Claire was about to protest, but was abruptly cut off. Luna Claire.
"Stay in there for 3 days and 3 nights, or don't even think about coming out."
Darius Knight left those words and turned to leave. Luna Claire's face was full of black lines. If she stayed in there for 3 days and 3 nights, wouldn't she end up all wrinkled and bloated? Regarding Darius's words, Luna Claire didn't take them seriously and planned to clean up and leave immediately. However, she quickly changed her mind. Because, as time passed, she soon noticed something unusual about the water in the tub. Soaking in the tub, Luna Claire not only felt the exhaustion accumulated over many days gradually dissolve, her body becoming lighter, but she was also astonished to discover that the wound on her arm was healing at an incredibly fast pace. Could it be the water in this tub has medicinal properties? But she couldn't identify any trace of medicinal ingredients within it. It seems this world is not the ancient world she once thought it to be. Surely, she would encounter many things beyond her comprehension in the future. Strangely enough, after realizing this, Luna Claire's heart became unusually calm, as if everything was meant to happen this way. Knowing the secret of the water, Luna Claire believed that Darius must have had a deeper intention when he instructed her to soak in the lake for 3 days and 3 nights. Thus, she did not rush to leave. After all, she could feel that this water was undoubtedly beneficial to her. For 3 consecutive days, Luna Claire immersed herself in the lake. At that time, she was completely unaware that during those 3 days, an event was stirring the entire capital. Chapter 53. Suspicions about Eleanor Claire. If one were to name the most notorious playboy in the capital, it could be none other than William Knight, the second son of the Duke of the General's Mansion. The General's Mansion was a family of military lineage, known for their loyalty and devotion. 20 years ago, the old general of the nation died in battle, and his wife followed him in death out of love and grief. 10 years ago, the younger brother of the general also perished on the battlefield. 5 years ago, the current general and his eldest son went to war, and have not been heard from since. Now, the general's mansion is left with a widow and her son. Only Madame Willow Lane, the general's wife, and the second son, William Knight, remained to uphold the family. However, William Knight did not inherit the bravery of his ancestors. Instead, he spent his days indulging in debauchery, earning himself the title of the most infamous playboy in the capital. No respectable young lady from a noble family would even consider marrying him. Even so, the emperor, out of gratitude and guilt towards the general's mansion, always showed them favor. Thanks to the emperor's generosity, the general's mansion had not yet fallen into ruin. Although William Knight had never gone to war, he was still referred to as the young general, while Madame Willow Lane was honored with the title of first-class noble lady. Typically, William Knight's frivolous lifestyle did not cause major trouble. His actions merely provided gossip and laughter for others during meals. However, this time was different. This time, William Knight secretly emptied the general's mansion's treasury, sold off all the valuable items in the household, and squandered the money in gambling dens. When Madame Willow Lane attempted to distribute the monthly wages to the servants, she discovered that the entire general's mansion was now nothing but an empty shell. Enraged, she almost took her own life to follow the late general. Afterward, Madame Willow Lane chased William Knight down the street with a broom, crying loudly in public, which led to the exposure of the incident. Such a significant event at the general's mansion quickly reached the emperor's ears. Out of respect for the late general, the emperor granted a sum of gold and silver to the general's mansion as consolation. He also summoned William Knight to the palace, scolded him harshly, and ordered him to be confined as punishment. Although the matter was resolved in this manner, the story spread rapidly throughout the capital. The storytellers in tea houses and taverns turned this tale into a popular narrative, using it to criticize William Knight for lacking the grace of his father and shaming an entire family known for their loyalty and integrity. 3 days passed quickly, and Luna Claire emerged from the bathing pool. After soaking for 3 days, the makeup on Luna Claire's face had completely faded, revealing her stunning beauty. Beneath the light mist, her fair, jade-like skin glistened with dewdrops, appearing so smooth and delicate that it seemed it might shatter with just a touch. Luna Claire was very pleased with the changes in her body. What satisfied her most was the feeling of lightness throughout her body. After the soak, she felt much more refreshed, as if the 3 days had washed away all the impurities from her being. However, when her gaze fell on the dirty, foul-smelling clothes she had tossed beside the bathing pool, Luna Claire felt utterly repulsed. As she hesitated over whether to wear them temporarily, a woman's voice called from outside. "Miss, the clothes are at the door." After that, there was no further sound from outside. Luna Claire peeked through the crack in the door, and, seeing no one, slightly opened it to retrieve the clothes. The simple yet elegant purple outfit fit her perfectly. Paired with her breathtaking face, she looked like a celestial maiden stepping out of a painting. However, Luna Claire didn't want to reveal her appearance. Since makeup was unavailable in this place, she reluctantly took a medicinal herb from her travel bag, crushed it into a paste, and applied it to her face. Her once otherworldly beauty dimmed in an instant, making her blend seamlessly into the crowd. Even so, when Luna Claire left the bathing room and encountered the servants in the manor, she was still warmly received. After all, to these people, it didn't matter if their future mistress was a bit plain. As long as she was a woman, that was enough. After inquiring, Luna Claire learned that Darius had already left, so she didn't linger. She ate a hearty meal, packed her belongings, and left the manor. She hadn't forgotten that tomorrow she needed to visit Night Manor to help Darius Knight detoxify. Upon entering the city, Luna Claire overheard people excitedly gossiping about how William Knight of the Duke's household had lost all his money. At first, she didn't pay much attention, but the more she listened, the more something felt off. William Knight? Wasn't he the very first lucrative target she had set her sights on? Thinking about the 5,000 taels of gold, Luna Claire suddenly understood everything. For a moment, she even wondered if she had been too demanding. Especially when she heard that the family of the loyal and devoted general of the nation was now left with only a widowed mother and her orphan child. This feeling grew even stronger. Of course, it was just a fleeting thought, because her instincts told her that this uproar surely had William Knight's hand in it. She couldn't believe William Knight was as simple as he appeared to be. But one thing was certain, William Knight was currently under house arrest, meaning their 7-day appointment would likely have to be postponed. After gathering some information, Luna Claire returned to Clare Manor. As she passed through the garden, she happened to see Eleanor Clare, who had already recovered enough to get out of bed and walk around. The weather was beautiful today, and Eleanor Clare was strolling in the garden with her maids and servants, looking to be in good spirits. However, the moment she saw Luna Clare, the smile on Eleanor Clare's face vanished. Her eyes briefly flashed with disbelief and a fleeting hint of murderous intent before quickly concealing it. Though Eleanor Clare hid it swiftly, Luna Clare caught it nonetheless. The expression on Eleanor Clare's face seemed to suggest she couldn't believe Luna Clare had returned. This sparked suspicion in Luna Clare's mind. Could the assassins at the base of Mountain Despair be connected to Eleanor Clare? This thought made Luna Clare narrow her eyes, a dangerous glint flashing within them. If it truly was Eleanor Clare, then Luna Clare would absolutely not let her go. Due to the considerable distance, Luna Clare pretended not to see Eleanor Clare and continued heading west.
Madam, the eldest young lady is truly disrespectful. She didn't even greet you.
Summer Reed, Eleanor Clare's maid, remarked indignantly.
Perhaps I haven't been a good mother, which is why she resents me so much.
Eleanor Clare sighed, though her gaze following Luna Clare's retreating figure carried a trace of malice. Hearing this, Summer Reed became even more indignant on behalf of Eleanor Clare.
Madam, you've always been devoted to the eldest young lady. How could you say you weren't good enough? And yet, the eldest young lady has gone too far, not only ruining your reputation, but also causing you to be beaten. It's simply outrageous.
Summer Reed and Winter Snow were Eleanor Clare's most trusted maids, entirely loyal to her. To the other servants, Eleanor Clare always presented herself as a kind and gentle mistress. Apart from her two close wet nurses, no one knew the extent of her true cunning nature. This was why Summer Reed was so adamant about defending Eleanor Clare. Upon hearing Summer Reed's words, Eleanor Clare said nothing, merely sighed and told her to stop talking. However, at that moment, Eleanor Clare's gaze fixed on Luna Clare's back, filled with calculation. She still didn't understand how that illegitimate child had survived, but she was determined not to let her live peacefully. If one plan failed, did it mean there were no other plans? Eleanor Clare refused to believe that the illegitimate child's fate was so unyielding. Chapter 54. Could it be calling her?
Young lady, Madam's health hasn't fully recovered yet. Why would she think of making a trip to pray for blessings now?
Inside the carriage, Lily looked puzzled. Luna Clare furrowed her brows, feeling a weight in her heart. According to the original plan, she was supposed to visit Night Manor today to help Darius detoxify. However, earlier this morning, before she left the West Courtyard, Eleanor Clare's wet nurse stopped her, informing her that she must go to Chengdu Temple on the outskirts of the capital to pray for blessings. All the young ladies in the residence were required to attend, and the matter had even been approved by General Clare. The suddenness of this event left Luna Clare no room to refuse, and there was no one nearby she could ask to send a message to Night Manor. Thus, she found herself in the carriage heading to Chengdu Temple. Still, if the incident at Mountain Despair last time was truly connected to Eleanor Clare, then this trip to Chengdu Temple would likely not be peaceful either. Eleanor Clare would undoubtedly seize the opportunity to act again. Luna Clare knew she had to remain vigilant.
Young lady, are you feeling unwell?
Lily asked worriedly, when she noticed Luna Clare furrowing her brows in silence. After the last incident, Lily had become deeply concerned for Luna Clare, fearing something might happen to her again. Previously, when Luna Clare had suddenly disappeared for 3 days, Lily had spent those days in constant worry. When Luna Clare returned safely, Lily finally breathed a sigh of relief, only to burst into tears in front of her, looking like a pitiful child abandoned by her guardian. Because of this, Luna Claire hadn't intended to bring Lily along this time. But seeing Lily on the verge of tears again that morning, Luna Claire had no choice but to reluctantly agree to take her. There was no other way. If Lily were someone unrelated, Luna Claire wouldn't care even if she cried herself to death. But now Lily genuinely cared for her, and what Luna Claire feared most was seeing those who cared about her shed tears.
"I'm fine,"
Luna Claire replied, glancing at Lily. Many things were merely suspicions in her heart, and there was no need to let Lily know about them. Lily, seeing this, did not ask further. At this moment, in another carriage, Vivian Claire, her face full of discontent, looked at Eleanor Claire while veiled under a thin fabric.
"Mother, look at me today, reduced to this state, and yet you still insist on dragging me out. Do you truly care nothing for my dignity?"
Faced with Vivian Claire's reproach, Eleanor Claire felt a fleeting trace of disappointment in her heart. The ache in her hips, already unbearable, seemed to intensify. But as she thought of her daughter's face, she quickly calmed herself.
"Too many misfortunes have befallen the household recently. A trip to offer incense might help dispel the bad luck."
Hearing this, Vivian Claire frowned slightly, her tone laced with resentment.
"If you truly wish to rid us of misfortune, lighting incense is not the solution."
Her words were clearly an insinuation. To Vivian Claire, Luna Claire was the greatest source of misfortune. It was Luna Claire's return that had caused her current plight. At this moment, Vivian Claire completely forgot that Luna Claire had only returned to take her place in marriage. Eleanor Claire, hearing her daughter's words, gently comforted her, patting Vivian Claire's hand.
"If it truly is a source of misfortune, then there's no reason it can't be dealt with."
As she spoke, a cold glint flashed in Eleanor Claire's eyes. Vivian Claire, hearing this, revealed a look of delight.
"Mother, do you mean to say—" "Shh."
Eleanor Claire gestured for silence, signaling Vivian Claire not to say more.
"This time, going to Chengdu Temple, you don't need to do anything, just restore our reputation."
She paused for a moment, then continued,
"As for your face, once Dr. Luo arrives in the capital, it will no longer be an issue."
Hearing this, Vivian Claire's mood immediately lifted, her expression softened, and the atmosphere in the carriage became harmonious and cheerful. By the end of the Shan hour, the carriage slowly arrived at the gates of Chengdu Temple. Chengdu Temple, located on Sunset Mountain in the outskirts of the capital, is a royal temple. Therefore, even on regular days, its incense offerings are exceptionally prosperous. At this moment, in front of the temple, numerous carriages were lined up one after another, creating a bustling scene. Having traveled for half a day, those arriving at Chengdu Temple were mostly young ladies and noblewomen from prominent families. At this point, they were tired, and even when encountering acquaintances, they exchanged only brief greetings before following the young monks who guided them to the resting rooms. As soon as the group from the Prime Minister's residence stepped down from their carriage, a young monk approached to greet them.
"Amitabha! Madam, the journey must have been tiring. Would you prefer to have a meal first or rest in the rooms?"
Eleanor Claire glanced briefly at Luna Claire, who had just alighted from the carriage, and smiled gently.
"Today, all the ladies from the residence have come, and they must be quite exhausted. Please lead us to the resting rooms first."
The young monk nodded and immediately led the way. Luna Claire had just taken a step when she immediately felt a hostile gaze fixed on her. Following the direction of the gaze, she happened to see Willow Claire quickly avert her eyes in a fluster, then hurriedly followed Eleanor Claire and the others. Luna Claire slightly curled her lips. For some reason, the sight of Willow Claire both hating her and being helpless against her amused her. Compared to Eleanor Claire, someone like Willow Claire, who lived under Eleanor's shadow, was certainly not worth her attention. Thus, she paid her no further mind. Due to a slight delay, Luna Claire fell behind. When they arrived at the guest quarters in Chengdu Temple, as expected, Luna Claire was assigned to the most remote room. Was this to make it easier to deal with her? Though she had this thought, Luna Claire wasn't overly concerned. While her location was somewhat secluded, the area was still filled with noble ladies and young misses. If Eleanor Claire truly wanted to deal with her, she would likely use other methods rather than directly sending assassins. She wasn't strong enough yet, but that didn't mean she was afraid. As long as no assassins beyond her ability to handle were sent, there was no need for excessive worry. After a brief tidying up, Luna Claire and her maid moved into the room. However, half an hour passed, and still, no one brought her food, nor did anyone call her to dine. This caused Luna Claire's eyes to darken. Was Eleanor Claire planning to starve her?
Miss, should I go to the kitchen to check?
Lily suggested. Luna Claire looked at Lily and nodded. But after Lily had been gone for a while without returning, Luna Claire grew worried and decided to step outside the courtyard. By now, night had fully fallen, and the monks had retired for the evening. With no one around to ask for directions, Luna Claire had no choice but to search for the kitchen herself. This took quite some time, but fortunately, she eventually found the kitchen. However, there was no sign of Lily. Even though she didn't find Lily, since she was already at the kitchen, Luna Claire wasn't about to leave empty-handed. She was still hungry, and no matter what, she needed to find something to eat. With this thought, Luna Claire began to rummage through the kitchen. Yet, after searching through the iron pots, steaming baskets, and water jars, she couldn't find any cooked food, which left her puzzled. At that moment, a sound came from outside. With just a glance around, Luna Claire quickly found a spot to hide. Creak! The kitchen door was pushed open. To Luna Claire's surprise, the one who entered was just a little monk, around 7 or 8 years old. The little monk stood at the kitchen door, looked around for a moment, then hesitated slightly and cautiously spoke up.
Sister?
Luna Claire. Could it be that he was calling her? Chapter 55. Little Monk Martin Bright.
Sister, are you still in there?
Seeing no response, the little monk furrowed his small brows, looking incredibly adorable. This time, Luna Claire was certain the little monk was calling her. She hadn't expected someone to follow her without her noticing. What a careless mistake. However, since the other party was just a child, there was no need to worry. She stepped out from her hiding spot, deliberately making some noise. Hearing the sound, the little monk turned to look at Luna Claire, his eyes sparkling brightly in the dark, making him appear even more endearing.
Sister!
The little monk joyfully ran toward Luna Claire. Seeing the little monk's face clearly, Luna Claire immediately thought of the cartoon character Ikusan, the round head, big, shiny eyes, utterly adorable. The little monk stopped 2 steps away from Luna Claire and looked up at her. Although it was dark, he smiled, revealing a cute snaggletooth.
Sister, are you looking for food? No.
Luna Claire felt slightly embarrassed that a child had caught her sneaking into the kitchen for food in the middle of the night. She wanted to deny it, but her stomach growled loudly, making her even more flustered.
I know where the food is.
The little monk didn't mock Luna Claire. Instead, he walked over to the window. It was only then that Luna Claire noticed a rope there. Looking up, she saw the other end of the rope tied to the ceiling beam. No wonder she couldn't find any cooked food. It was all stored up there. Looking at the little monk's small frame, Luna Claire naturally couldn't let him retrieve the food for her. She took the rope from his hands and lowered a large basket from the beam.
There are a lot of mice in the temple, so all the food is kept up high,
the little monk explained while pulling out 2 large steamed buns from the basket and handing them to Luna Claire. Without hesitation, Luna Claire grabbed a bun and took a big bite. The little monk watched her, smiling sweetly. For some reason, Luna Claire sensed a hint of anticipation and joy in the little monk's eyes. After eating half the bun, Luna Claire tucked the remaining piece into her chest, hoisted the basket back onto the beam, and led the little monk out of the kitchen. The two sat down together on the stone steps outside.
"Do you know who I am?"
Luna Claire asked, voicing the question lingering in her mind. It was clear that the little monk was intentionally following her, and moreover, he seemed very friendly toward her. Hearing this, the little monk shook his head vigorously.
"No, not at all."
While Luna Claire was still puzzled, the little monk innocently added,
"But sister, you're as beautiful as my sister. Do you not find me ugly?"
Luna Claire laughed, as her current appearance had nothing to do with the word
"beautiful."
Unexpectedly, the little monk looked at her with a serious expression and emphasized,
"Sister, you are as beautiful as my sister, not ugly at all."
That innocent look softened Luna Claire's heart. For some reason, even though it was their first meeting, Luna Claire felt a special connection with the little monk. She patiently conversed with him, and eventually learned the story about his sister. As it turned out, the little monk's Dharma name was Martin Bright, and his real name was Martin. He had only been at the temple for half a year. 3 months earlier, the southern region had suffered from severe flooding, and Martin Bright's family had all perished, leaving only him and his sister to rely on each other for survival. To survive, Martin Bright's sister had taken him to the capital in search of relatives. However, because she gave all the food to her younger brother, she became too weak and died of starvation in a small town not far from the capital. If it hadn't been for the abbot of Chengdu Temple, who happened to pass by and save him, Martin Bright might have also starved to death. That evening, when Luna Claire entered Chengdu Temple, Martin Bright happened to see her. The boy noticed that her eyes resembled his sister's, which caught his attention. Later that night, when Martin Bright went to the restroom, he saw Luna Claire heading toward the kitchen and decided to follow her. However, being so young, he moved quite slowly, which was why Luna Claire hadn't noticed the little tail trailing behind her. Martin Bright constantly blamed himself for being the reason his sister had starved to death. So, when he saw Luna Claire eating steamed buns, his eyes revealed a mix of longing and joy. After chatting for a while, they agreed to meet again the next day, and Luna Claire then returned to her quarters. When Luna Claire returned to the courtyard, Lily was pacing back and forth anxiously in the room. Seeing Luna Claire, Lily hurriedly ran over.
"Miss, where did you go? You scared me to death."
Luna Claire looked at Lily, observed her carefully, and only after confirming she was unharmed did she breathe a sigh of relief. She then asked Lily why she had been gone for so long. Lily, looking dejected, replied,
"Miss, it's my fault. I couldn't find any food for you."
It turned out that when Lily was about to head out, she was stopped by Joy, the maidservant of Willow Claire. Due to the previous incident, Willow Claire didn't dare to harm Lily directly, but instead ordered Joy to lock Lily in her room. By the time Lily was released, half an hour had already passed. Worried that Luna Claire might be anxious, Lily rushed back, only to find the room empty, nearly causing her to think something bad had happened to Luna Claire again. Upon hearing that Willow Claire was behind this, Luna Claire frowned. However, Willow Claire was just a minor annoyance. Since no real harm had been done, Luna Claire decided not to pursue the matter further. Handing the remaining steamed bun to Lily, Luna Claire advised her to rest early before heading into her room. Early the next morning, at Night Manor, Darius Knight sat on his bed, his expression icy cold. It was unclear how long he had been sitting there, but his mood was evidently terrible. Just then, a sound came from the door, and Victor Moore entered the room. Sensing the oppressive atmosphere, which was even heavier than when he had left, Victor's steps became stiff. If one looked closely, beads of sweat could be seen forming on his forehead.
"Master,
Victor more clasped his hands in greeting, his voice trembling slightly. There was no other way. His master was currently terrifying, and Victor feared he might be thrown out at any moment. As this thought crossed his mind, Victor received a piercingly cold glare from Darius, nearly causing him to lose his footing.
Master, Miss Claire. Miss Claire left for Chengdu Temple early yesterday morning and is not currently in the capital.
This time, Victor dared not delay any longer. Despite his fear, he quickly reported the information. Heaven knows, his master had been sitting here since early yesterday morning in an unusually good mood. No one knew why. But as the day turned into night, and then into the next morning, his master's expression grew darker and more menacing. It wasn't until Benedict Rock returned from his duties that Victor learned the truth. His master had been waiting for Miss Claire. After learning this, Victor only wanted to kneel. Who waits an entire day and night without saying a word? If his master wanted to see Miss Claire, why not just say so? They could have invited her earlier, sparing everyone from enduring this freezing atmosphere. Darius Knight, oblivious to Victor's thoughts, merely heard that Luna Claire had gone to Chengdu Temple. He furrowed his brows, said nothing, and strode out of the room.
Master, where are you going?
Victor cautiously asked.
To Chengdu Temple.
Chapter 56. 100 monks praying for the disaster-stricken region every early morning. Chengdu Temple is always bustling with the thickest incense smoke. However, today, Chengdu Temple is even more lively. This is because all the noble ladies and young misses have received word that Master Ocean will make an appearance today. Thus, they gathered together, bringing along their maids to the main hall of Chengdu Temple, hoping to hear the monks' teachings. Master Ocean, now 80 years old, is a highly revered monk who has achieved enlightenment and is deeply respected by many. However, he rarely makes public appearances, which explains the bustling scene today. After bowing to Buddha, the noble ladies, young misses, and their maids stood neatly in line, hands clasped in reverence. Of course, among these people, Luna Claire and her maid were not present. At this moment, no one paid attention to their absence, as everyone was eagerly anticipating Master Ocean's arrival. After a while of waiting, Master Ocean indeed appeared. But beside Master Ocean, apart from the abbot, there were also Eleanor Claire and Vivian Claire, both covering their faces, which surprised the crowd. Most of these noble ladies came from prominent families in the capital and frequently mingled in high society. Many had attended the banquet at the general's residence previously, and had seen Vivian Claire's disfigured face. Now, seeing Vivian Claire present herself so openly before everyone, many began to speculate. Some wondered if Vivian Claire's face had healed, while others mocked and took pleasure in her misfortune. In any case, there were various thoughts, but given they were in front of Buddha, no one dared to gossip openly. Vivian Claire, initially feeling anxious and uneasy under everyone's gaze, even feared that her veil might fall off, bringing her further embarrassment. It wasn't until Eleanor Claire gave her a slight tug that she snapped out of it. Seeing the admiration in everyone's eyes, and thinking about what was about to happen, Vivian Claire unconsciously straightened her back, her eyes filled with confidence.
Amitabha, today this humble monk has an announcement to make.
Abbot Sky clasped his hands in a gesture of respect toward everyone, his face radiating compassion. As soon as they heard this, everyone immediately shifted their attention from Eleanor Claire and her daughter to Abbot Sky.
3 months ago, the southern region suffered a massive flood, affecting countless lives. Surely, all of you benefactors are aware of this.
Abbot Sky began.
Today, benefactor Claire and her daughter have donated 20,000 taels of sesame oil, requesting 100 monks in the temple to chant prayers for half a day to bless the disaster-stricken region. I believe this is a virtuous deed, and hope all benefactors here will join in. What are your thoughts?
As soon as he finished speaking, The crowd buzzed with discussion, their eyes filled with astonishment as they looked at Eleanor Clare. 20,000 taels was no small amount, yet Eleanor Clare had so easily contributed it just to pray for the flooded southern region. Sensing the thoughts of those present, Eleanor Clare calmly stepped forward.
The southern region has suffered greatly, and as a woman who spends most of her time at home, there's little I can do. I've been feeling uneasy these past few months. Thanks to my daughter's suggestion, I thought of organizing this prayer.
After speaking, Eleanor Clare turned to Master Ocean with a grateful expression.
With the support of the venerable monk, who is willing to lead this virtuous act, I humbly ask the ladies and young misses here to join hands in contributing.
Eleanor Clare's words were both humble and strategic, not only enhancing her own reputation, but also crediting Vivian Clare for the idea, further elevating her daughter's image. The ladies and young women who previously looked down on Vivian Clare due to her disfigured appearance began to change their attitudes. They praised her for her kindness and even expressed hope that her beauty, marred only temporarily, would soon be restored. Seizing the opportunity, Eleanor Clare revealed that the famed Dr. Luo would soon arrive in the capital, ensuring Vivian Clare's full recovery. To everyone, this was excellent news. After all, Dr. Luo's reputation was widely known, and many hoped to meet him, especially those with family members suffering from incurable illnesses. Flattering words toward Eleanor Clare flowed freely, as if at no cost. Naturally, everyone agreed to join in the collective prayer for the disaster victims and the souls of the deceased. After all, a charitable act that cost them nothing, combined with the chance to participate alongside Master Ocean, was a rare blessing no one would refuse. Once consensus was reached, preparations began, with everyone waiting for all the monks and pilgrims in the temple to gather at the main hall. Meanwhile, the courtyard of Luna Clare remained eerily quiet. Having woken up naturally, Luna Clare was served breakfast by Lily, who seemed particularly cheerful, since the meal hadn't been forgotten. After ensuring the food was safe, Luna Clare and Lily ate together. However, the unusual calm unsettled her slightly. If the events at Mount Despair were truly connected to Eleanor Clare, wouldn't bringing her to Chengdu Temple be the perfect opportunity for Eleanor Clare to make a move against her? However, yesterday the road was peaceful and uneventful, and last night in the room was the same. The only issue was the missing dinner last night. Could it be that she had misunderstood? Was the Mount Despair incident truly unrelated to Eleanor Clare? Was Eleanor Clare's expression upon seeing her return simply due to personal dislike? Unable to figure it out, Luna Clare decided not to dwell on it anymore. After breakfast, recalling her appointment with Martin Bright, Luna Clare left Lily behind at the temple and went to find Martin Bright herself. The morning atmosphere at Chengdu Temple was serene, with the faint scent of sandalwood bringing peace to the heart. Yet, the rare sight of monks on the path still left Luna Clare feeling puzzled. From afar, she saw a few monks hurrying toward the main hall. Thinking about how modern temples often have morning chanting sessions, Luna Clare didn't think too deeply and continued toward her meeting spot with Martin Bright. However, upon arrival, Martin Bright was nowhere to be seen.
Could he have gone to the chanting session too?
Luna Clare wondered, just as she noticed a young monk, around 20 years old, with a worried expression running toward her. A sense of unease rose within her. The young monk stopped in front of Luna Clare, seemingly out of breath from running too fast.
Lady Benefactor!
The monk clasped his hands in greeting to Luna Clare.
May I ask if you are the elder sister that junior brother Martin Bright mentioned?
Luna Clare nodded.
Where is Martin Bright? Junior brother Martin Bright is injured at the back of the mountain. His condition is very serious. Lady Benefactor, please follow me quickly.
With that, the monk prepared to lead the way. The image of Martin Bright's adorable face flashed in Luna Clare's mind. Thinking of the boy possibly being hurt, her heart tightened. Indeed, concern clouds judgment. Coupled with her instinct as a healer, upon hearing that Martin Bright was injured, Luna Claire failed to notice anything unusual and hurriedly followed the monk. Before long, Luna Claire had followed the monk out through the temple's back gate and toward the rear mountain. But the path the monk led her on grew increasingly remote and treacherous, and only then did Luna Claire begin to sense something was amiss. Suspicion arose within her. Martin Bright was so young. How could he have traversed such a dangerous and secluded mountain path?